it sounds like we're not actually missing much by E3 being canceled this year, honestly. I get more excited about the Game Awards, honestly, over E3 lately, and I don't really care that much about the Game Awards.
In my opinion, the landscape has changed, especially with COVID and the closures of all these game centric things, and everybody just went online. It's almost killed the movie theater for me. Imagine if we could all watch the Batman on our TV.
But talk about different. PlayStation Plus made some pretty big changes, and E3 also hit us with another curveball this year. So E3 canceling, right? That shit there, I don't understand why. I don't know if it's a COVID thing, but I mean, shit's kind of back to normal.
Dude, E3 canceling their digital conference too is interesting. But I know PlayStation had already pulled out of E3 this year, right? So maybe they just didn't think they were going to have that much to show. I mean, maybe it was just going to be a dead conference this year. Who even knows? But it is wild.
Unless E3 thinks that without Sony they can't really have an E3, which is respectable. But
no, I think it's
oh man, there's those Xbox dudes are just furious with you right now.
They're burning.
Nah, I think there's a few things. Like before Bethesda got bought out by Microsoft, they had also pulled out of E3. They were like, we're doing our own thing. So Bethesda's doing their own thing. Sony's doing their own thing. Nintendo's already doing like weekly, monthly, these Nintendo Directs. They don't need E3. So then it's like, what's E3 for now? And it's like Microsoft and then this garbage like PC thing they do. It's like, it was Microsoft, Ubisoft, and like this PC shit. It's like, I don't know. It's like it lost all of the. E3 was probably. E3 was my favorite time of the year for sure, hands down.
Yeah.
Like for a period of my life, I'd be like E3 was just hype. It'd be E3 and like Steam sales. Those are the best times of the year.
Well, Game Informer hyped that the fuck up. When we used to read those magazines, like the entire year was basically leading to E3. Like every articles are like, we're gonna find out more about this game at E3 this year.
Yeah. I would say for me, it was kind of short-lived, but like I started focusing on E3, maybe Nintendo 64 era and stuff like that. It peaked GameCube, maybe PS3 was like very intriguing. And then after PS4, it kind of just sank. For me, I just did have no more interest in it. I felt like everything that they were showing was just so boring. And none of the presentations even were memorable. The ones that were memorable were the bad ones, like the bad E3 PS3 when it first launched, and like they were showing the crab enemy. It was so bad. It was so bad that it was good. Even Microsoft's Xbox One reveal, when they were like, oh, only online. And then everybody was like, no. And they were like, yes. And everybody was like, no. And then they were like, oh, okay, no. Like at the last second, like whoever was, because he said some stupid shit like, oh, if you don't want only online, we have a console for you, the Xbox 360.
I remember that.
Yo, what a fucking brain dead take. The sad part is, what they were pitching was actually really forward thinking. It was actually really cool. Like the idea that I could own a digital game and I could let Mateo borrow that game by like locking it. I like locking myself out of it, and then he could like check that game out, and then now it's like he owns it, but it's like my game and things like that. Like that was super novel. That still isn't done till this day.
That's all I want.
The whole
dude.
landscape of digital gaming would be vastly different.
I mean, SharePlay changed the landscape as well.
Kind of. I mean, SharePlay, Remote Play on Steam, like they're all right. They have their own issues, right? Like it's not the full gaming experience. It's a cool
Imagine
thing.
I could just let Tony borrow Elden Ring for a week and he could just play the game.
Nah, I love playing. I love SharePlay. Like I I practically beat Gran Turismo for Doughboy just playing share
Get the
play.
fuck out of here. He did like 6 licenses for me, and I appreciate it, but
Races.
Gran Turismo, that's a stretch, Tony.
What? I mean, I'm telling you, like, if you guys can't, I know racing is hard for you guys. Just let me know, bro. Share play it, and I'll do it for you.
Yep, just hit
okay.
just hit him up on Twitter. His Twitter was right there in that corner. Right there. Yeah. That's right. I'm reversed on.
Yeah.
Anyways, what they were pitching was super novel, and it's like for something about the world wasn't ready to just be always online yet. I think if like they pitched that now, it would be way more receptive to it. But the really what fucked them up too is like they were doing that, and they were talking so much about all this TV shit and then all the voice shit. They get Xbox on.
You
Xbox,
loved it,
go
Tony.
home.
Tell us, Tony.
I'm in disgust with Pucho right now, not with the Xbox thing. Bro, that whole Xbox on, Xbox off was fire. I don't know about you guys. That shit was fire. I could tell Xbox TV and fucking, bro, that shit was great for its time. After a while, it did get kind of annoying for me.
He wanted to show off so bad. He would be in the PlayStation chat saying, Xbox on, Xbox off. Just showing off to us on PS3, PS. So terrible.
But, I mean, PlayStation does that. I don't know. They have like a voice feature on PlayStation as well. I mean, no one probably ever fucking uses it, but it has that option.
Is there something?
And
there's
the Xbox One,
there's the
they
mic.
pitched it dialing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a microphone on the remote, right? Like that's a thing on the DualSense.
Yeah, there's a microphone there, and if you got the PlayStation headphones, you can do it there. And I think you got to say PlayStation or something like that, and then it'll trigger it, and then the mic sign will pop up, and then you can tell it to do things. Like I've done it, but I don't think anybody really does it who owns a PlayStation.
Never even tried it out.
Yeah, but other than that, Xbox, it was pretty good, but I felt like they were gearing it too much to all that extra shit that they got it kind of away from like the actual gaming part of the system, and some of the stuff was lackluster. Like they fixed it when it came back with the new Xbox, so it's all good.
No,
but the best part about that was, I don't think it was, I don't remember who it was doing the presentation. I don't think it was Phil Spencer, but it was funny watching him because even he didn't have it all right. He was trying to explain like how would you let your friend borrow a game, and he was kind of like fumbling through it, saying so many words to say so little. And then PlayStation immediately released an ad. It's like how you share games on PS4, and Shuhei Yoshida grabbed the PS4 game and handed it to his friend. It was like dead. Like
there were so many slam dunks that Microsoft just gave Sony.
Yeah, Microsoft literally lost really the PS4 and even a big chunk of this generation off of that one bad conference.
Yeah.
Like, because they had all the momentum with the 360, and then the PS4 vastly outsold the Xbox One X. It was because they bundled it with the Kinect too. That was a whole other thing. They like you had to pay an extra $150 just to have that Kinect, and you couldn't. They were like, no, it has to come with the Kinect. And then like a year later, they sold it without the Kinect.
Because you needed the voice thing with the Kinect.
Yep.
Yeah, but what a bad design. Like they should have seen that from the like. Nobody wants that bullshit.
I never even used that camera like that.
That shit was so gimmicky to begin with. Look at what they did to Rare. Rare was such an amazing company, bro. They made them make a bunch of Kinect games. Just like, yo, those people must hate themselves. Yo, we created GoldenEye. We created Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Kazooie. You're making us make some funky ass Kinect games?
Donkey Kong Country?
That's crazy.
GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. These people are killing it.
Yeah. They made some games.
Well, it sounds like we're not actually missing much by E3 being canceled this year, honestly. I get more excited about the Game Awards, honestly, over E3 lately. and I don't really care that much about the Game Awards.
In my opinion, the landscape has changed, especially with COVID and the closures of all these game centric things, and everybody just went online. It's almost killed the movie theater for me. Imagine if we could all watch the Batman on our TV.
You will be able to see the Batman on TV April 15th or some shit like that.
Pretty cool, because I want to watch it.
If we could all see the Batman on TV, 3 of us would be having inferior experiences because we don't have a 77-inch OLED 4K HDR TV.
Yeah. I couldn't even fit that in my room, so it's just not a reality for me.
And be your entire wall.
Fuck out of here. That shit got nothing. That's just a TV. Shit ain't even that serious.
So, Tony, those PlayStation changes, though, the PlayStation Plus, it could be exciting.
Let me just tell you, off rip, this is the new thing for any of you guys who don't know exactly what was going on. I'll explain it to you. They changed the prices on PlayStation Plus. Well, they didn't change it. They added 2 new
tiers.
Yeah, thank you. Tiers. Obviously, we all know the original, which is now called PlayStation Plus Essential. Just the regular $60 a year, 2 downloadable games. You know what's been going on for now. Forever.
I might add that tier contains cloud downloads and stuff like that. You know how long my cloud downloads have been I'm maxed out at like the end of the PS4 cycle. None of my PS5 stuff is able to save on the cloud because I have too much PS4 saved games. So for me, I'm kind of a little upset about that. I'm like, if they were able to give me like a Google, let me buy more space, Apple, some shit like that.
Why do you need so much PlayStation 4 games in the cloud?
I have a lot of save data. I have a lot of different games that I
give you like 100 gigs of save data.
Yeah, maybe I gotta go back and delete it, but I feel like it's just a lot of games that I've played.
You probably
save scummed like one game and it's taking up all your space because I got a ton of games and I'm not even using like 20% of that space.
I have to look that up because it's a possibility. I played a lot of XCOM. And XCOM, like I use save a lot and stuff like that.
All right, so the PlayStation Essentials,
you could delete your saves right off the PlayStation too. You could see them all from the cloud and delete it.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, check that bullshit out.
Can I add something though?
Yeah,
we wouldn't.
Second edition.
We wouldn't even be having this if it wasn't for Xbox being around and Xbox Game Pass doing so well. Like,
absolutely.
That's what I try to say. Like, competition is very healthy. They would have kept fucking us with this same service if Xbox wasn't doing anything. It was something remotely interesting. And in a way, I guess it's cool that you're now getting the PlayStation Now service. Go ahead and read the next tier.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Let them say it.
So, the PlayStation Essential is what we always had. The next one is the PlayStation Plus Extra. I don't know why I did that. Sorry.
How much is that?
This price goes from $14.99 monthly to $39.99 quarterly and $100 yearly. And this provides all of the same essential tier category, but it adds a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 game, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. And it gives you extra in this game in the tier. It gives you extra downloadable to play as well.
They did confirm like PlayStation exclusives, like the first-party games, I guess. They're not going to be instantly accessible through this PlayStation, through any of the PlayStation tiers, the PlayStation Plus tiers.
Yeah, they stated that it just clearly conflicts with what they're doing right now, and what they're doing is working. So it won't work for their model of business right now.
I think they just don't want to lose the $60-$70 they charge for a game.
Yeah,
For sure.
which is
No, that's absolutely-
which is
it's
fair.
absolutely.
Like the developers need to get paid too, right? Like they make a good product, you should pay money and support them so they make more good products, right?
Think about who Microsoft is and think about who PlayStation is. Although PlayStation is doing better than Microsoft, Microsoft is just a gigantic company. They'll buy you for 67 billion, 80 billion like it's nothing. PlayStation can't do that.
Yeah.
They can't make those those big purchases. Like that shit could be the death of their company if they do it. So it's just they're two different companies.
Sony's a pretty big company too, but nowhere near as big as Microsoft. Like I think Sony's biggest division is the gaming division, and Microsoft's a software company. They make Microsoft Word, Office, the email, all that shit. Like they're like the gaming is a very low on the totem pole in terms of what makes that company money.
I would imagine, honestly, the one that makes the most money is their Azure service and like their virtualization and hosting
Windows
and all that fun shit.
Server, all that bullshit. Visual Studio, like the IDE stuff, all that shit is making them stupid amount of money.
Yep.
So the tier level changes here now, boys. Now you get into the PlayStation Plus Premium.
Ooh.
And the price difference from the premium to the extra only changes by $10 quarterly and $20 yearly. So
that?
it really, if you
What's that monthly?
like for
Above 20.
yeah, monthly, yeah.
Above
but
20
monthly-
yearly.
It's $20
Yes.
a month, 120 years.
$120 a month.
So it's half off if you just buy the year.
Or yearly is $120 yearly and $17.99 monthly. So for quarterly, it's a $10 difference. Went from $39 to $49, and then the yearly from the extra to premium went from $100 to $120. So it really, if you're gonna get it fucking extra, you might as well get premium for extra $20 because what it comes with, it offers PS3 games are available now in cloud streaming. It also adds in a catalog of classic games for PS2 and PSP generations. It also offers the cloud streaming from the original PlayStation, PSP, PS4 games, and it gives you extra extra platinum or premier titles in tier markets. And for a limited time, you can actually try games before buying it. So you get like a time-limited game trial before you actually buy the game. So which is that to me is interesting. Like I like
Something
that.
EA Play has been doing, like, and they allow you to trial their games for 10 hours.
Yep.
Which is plenty of time to know whether you want to play a game or not. But that's pretty cool.
No, it's a cool feature. I think it is interesting to note that there's no PlayStation Vita games on there because PlayStation Vita sucks and PlayStation knows it. So they purposely left it off the list.
I think once again, even on the Vita, you could play PSP games, a lot of PSP games. And I think they just had these emulators sitting there. I think this is also a way of them to close out the PSP store and like allow themselves to only recoup some of, because they tried to close down the PS3 and the PS Vita store, which had PSP games. So I think this is their way of like integrating those games without completely losing them. I think Vita games are just gonna come after. I don't know if any of these companies know how to make a functional emulator. It just seems like they have a very hard time with it. Nintendo, everybody seems like it just takes forever for these. Like, where's a GameCube emulator for Nintendo? Why haven't we received that yet? It doesn't seem, I don't know. It doesn't seem like these companies really know what they're doing when it comes to emulation. So it's nice to see that these are coming forward.
I don't think it's so much that they don't know what they're doing. I think it's just not worth the money. Like, it's going to take some amount of time and investment and engineers to go and produce, like, a quality emulator. Like, every emulator you download online, they all work pretty good, but there's an acceptable amount of jank because you're basically pirating games. You're like, fuck it, like, yeah, this texture's glitchy, but whatever, I'm playing this game again, type of thing. But if you got that product from Nintendo, you'd be pissed. Like, you'd be like, fuck that, this should be perfect, blah blah. So it's like they gotta make all this stuff. They need to make it right, and that's not even the big problem. The big problem is once they do all that, people aren't gonna use it. What happens every time you get an emulator? You download all these games, you set it all up like your shiny library. You boot like 7 of those games. You play them for like 3 minutes.
Your shiny legal library.
Your shiny legal library, and then you play them for like 7 minutes, and then you're just like, and then you just like go to Pornhub or something, and then that's it. Your emulation's over. So it's like for Sony or any of these companies to spend all that time to go and make these emulators and shit like that, like, and then for you to do that, they're gonna be like, oh, what a fucking waste of money. Like,
my concern with the PlayStation Plus changes, like the cool shit that they're offering us, is that all of them say up to 400 games library of PS1 games, and up to worries me, because I wonder if it's gonna be like the Nintendo thing, because I hate the NES and the SNES emulator on Switch, just because you get one good game for every like 5 garbage games they put on there.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bad games in there.
I think it's I personally feel like these people are responsible for her. Like, I know that it's gonna lose them money, but I think it's just a responsibility thing, and like I think they should be responsible enough to have to create emulation so that everyone should be able to enjoy these games. There shouldn't be a barrier for entry. I think that's whack. I think a lot of these companies they're able to create something functional for us.
Nintendo says they have no responsibility to preserve any of their digital catalog.
Yeah. I think they suck for saying that, personally. I think that's a shitty thing.
It's pretty shitty. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting to say that like a company that produces something is now forced to forever make that thing that they produced available. Like almost no one has this requirement except for in the gaming space.
Well, think about the movie industry.
Huh?
Think about the movie industry. How many variations of A Space Odyssey you think are there? And there's just a lot of variations of the film on all different types of media.
So it's an interesting thing though, like because like there is a problem in the movie industry with a lot of old films being lost, like the originals of them. Like sure, there's like the DVDs and Blu-rays and shit like that out there, right?
Like the Han Solo shot first, right?
Things like that. There's a lot of movies that have just been lost to time, and they're just crumbling like 8mm reels of tape and whatnot. I would like companies to have responsibility to maintain their shit, but realistically, I know it's incredibly hard. Even software companies, they sunset their shit eventually, and you just can't find it anymore.
I mean, you build an app for Windows XP, and then you're on Windows 11. It's like, well, they gotta port this shit for who? Like,
listen, bro, if fucking RuneScape is still fucking playable.
It still makes them money.
That game refuses to die, man.
EverQuest.
Fucking
Quest.
Anyways, the PlayStation Plus changes. I personally like it. Like, I mean, I pay for PlayStation Now and I pay for PlayStation Plus, right? So between those two, it's like $20 a month. Anyway.
A no-brainer.
So this shit basically is gonna cut my prices in half.
Yeah, because you pay for the year.
I get to just pay for a whole year.
Yeah, you pay for the year. You're getting $10 a month for this service. Why the fuck not? That's what you're paying right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. For everybody else, I'd say it's probably only worth doing the first tier. If you're new to PlayStation, probably the second tier. But I would only pay for the full year, I think. Otherwise, it gets pricey.
So you wouldn't do the premium?
Hit us with that next tier.
That was the last tier.
Yeah, there's no more tiers.
That was the last tier?
Yeah, there's no PlayStation Ultra Elite, no PlayStation VIP.
What else do you want?
Yeah, it's literally
the last tier is going to give you demos you could try out. There's a full catalog of PS4 games. It basically gives you PS Now for PlayStation 1, 2, 3.
There's no PlayStation 1 games on PS Now, though. So, like,
they're
all
gonna
of that
put
is
it.
going to be brand new. Like,
they're adding
Yeah.
it in.
Where
Yeah,
you
for
sound
premium
like you're
version.
complaining.
The premium version is going to have the PS1, 2, and yeah, $120.
I'm mad that they haven't been able to figure out how to emulate PS3 past streaming.
They know how to emulate it. It's not
Shit
worth
is-
their money.
Yeah, but fuck that, bro. I'll keep support. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a problem with the architecture, is what I've heard, but I don't know how true that is. I've heard there's
Yes.
some kind of architectural problem with the chip that they use in the PS3, or I don't know. It gets into like electronical engineering shit that I don't understand.
Pay Xbox 360 for their games and bring them over, all right? I don't know. You know what I mean? If PS3 is too shitty, then maybe they gotta look at Xbox 360 and be like, hey, how are you doing all these games backwards compatible and releasing them?
It's
Less-
'cause it's the same thing. The 360, Xbox One, Xbox One X, they're all like x86 architecture. So they just work. Like the PS4 and the PS5 are like the same architecture. So that's why there's backwards compatibility. It's not even a question there. You know what I mean? It just works.
I think Doughboy's secretly an Xbox fanboy.
No, the backwards compatibility on the Xbox One X that I own, I love it. I go back, I play fucking Fear 2. I play all sorts of games that I
Play
wasn't able
trash-ass
to play.
games.
Well, you call it trash. I say that I'm reliving a generation that I wasn't able to play.
I don't know. There's a whole bunch of people that really appreciate. I say a whole bunch of people. I think there's dozens of them, to be honest. They're a vocal dozen. Doey's one of them. So there's 11 other people that really enjoy this backwards compatibility.
Yeah. Oblivion.
I mean, I'd be in the same camp. Like, I love my old games. I still have my PS2 games. I still got my PS1 games, my PS3 games. Like,
think about what they're doing. The last batch of games that they released backwards compatible play like absolute shit on the 360 and the PS3. Now, this is the first time you're able to play these games 60 FPS, HDR enabled. That shit is cool. For a console to do that and say, hey, let's take the games that we fucked up on and that our consoles couldn't handle and make them playable on the new generation. I just think that type of dedication is just, for me, I'll spend my dollar every time on something like that.
Well, since we're on the whole
remember, that's why the
PlayStation-
GameCube. Well, that's why the Wii was cool, because you could play the GameCube games. But Nintendo never gave a fuck about that shit. Really, PlayStation created this problem, and then they shit the bed when they abandoned it, because the PS1, PS2, PS3, you could play all your games through all those consoles. The first time that shit's ever happened.
Yep.
And then in the PS3 era, they were like, all right, fuck these PS2 games. All right, fuck these PS1 games. And then PS4 came out and you can't play dick no more. And I think that's where everything got kind of fucked up for them. But the PS4 should have at least still been able to play PS1 and PS2 games natively.
I agree.
But I don't know.